Great. Great. So let's start seated. I think very soon we'll stand, but we'll just begin in a comfortable seat. And this might mean sitting cross-legged up on some kind of support, a folded blanket or something like that. It could mean sitting on the edge of a chair with your feet on the floor. It could mean kneeling on a block or some stack of books, something like that. And you could decide, if you feel like it, you could close your eyes, or you could open your eyes. If your eyes are open, just settle your gaze somewhere out in front of you, maybe slightly down on the floor in front of you, a few feet in front of you. And let your gaze settle into a soft focus where you're kind of seeing the texture of the view in front of you, but not really making out any particular details. And then if you would bring one hand onto your chest, right under your collarbones, and another hand to your lower belly. And let your elbows be heavy and fall down by your sides. And just notice as you're breathing, this expansion that occurs under both of your hands. And as you exhale, notice especially under the lower hand, you can feel this releasing of the navel towards the spine. Not that you're pulling it in with your muscles, but that as the diaphragm moves up and out of the way, the belly releases towards your back body. And I'd love to actually start with some chanting, just some chanting Om together. And we'll chant Om 3 times. The first one will be loud, resonant, big, as you feel comfortable, you know. And then the second one will be more like there's someone a few feet away from you, you're talking to that person. We could say conversational chanting. And then the third will be very private, very close to you, maybe even silent. So we'll inhale. Oh, I want to say also, it's not just the volume, but you can think about also the expression. That's why I named these 3 kind of levels. The first one, you're telling the whole world, you could say. Your Om will reach every person everywhere. The second one is directly to, someone right in front of you. You can think about it spatially. And the third one is inside, if that helps. So there's an intentional direction to it, not just volume, but also kind of an intensity of energy. So we'll start with the first Om now. You can bring your palms together in Anjali Mudra. We'll inhale. A little closer to you. This last one, very soft, maybe even silent. Now we'll come to standing. Just stand comfortably with your feet right underneath your heels, or what? Feet right underneath your hips. Feeling into all the 4 corners of your feet. Come into Tadasana. And you'll interlace your fingers. And as you inhale, reach the hands forward and up. I'm stretching through both sides so that the palms will face towards the ceiling. And as you exhale, you'll just bring the hands down. And at the bottom, they can separate. Now, some of you might find that as this clasping of the hands makes it kind of tight in the shoulders. In that case, you can bring your arms out to the sides. We're looking for the option that allows the chest to open. For some of us, this is it. And for some of us, it's nicer to have the hands out, coming out to the sides and up, and then down. And then you might use, you might come into a little bit of a balance. So as you come up, you'll use your whole inhalation to come up and come up onto your tippy toes. And then exhale, lower the hands as you lower the heels. And last little detail, use your entire breath to do the entire movement. So you'll use your long, slow, smooth inhalation to come up, reaching up through both sides, letting your toes rest down on the ground, and using your whole exhalation to come down. Very simple movement, but if we use all of these ingredients, letting it come into as whole of a movement as you can. Breath, body, arms, legs, all going together. And maybe one more time with even slower breath. Therefore, even slower movement. Even steadier kind of concentration. Good. And then just pause with your arms by your sides. Turn your palms to face forward. Feel your collarbones kind of roll open, your shoulders come towards each other. Good. And step your right foot forward, left foot back. And have your back foot grounded. Good. Right foot forward, left foot back. Back foot is grounded down into the ground. And you'll bring your hands maybe onto your torso or onto your chest. And as you inhale, you can bend into your right knee, open your elbows wide. So you're coming into Virabhadrasana 1, your elbows wide. And then exhale, you'll just straighten your front knee, coming back, bringing your hands to your heart. Continue like this, inhaling, widening the elbows, feeling that you're drawing your shoulder blades towards each other, puffing the chest up and out. Exhale, bring your hands in towards your chest. Now again, use your whole breath for the whole movement. So use that whole inhalation to expand and use the entire exhalation to come back to this stable starting place. And as you're coming into this lunge, see that your knee doesn't really go past your ankle. So you might make even a wider stance. And then you'll stay here. So you'll stay in this Virabhadrasana 1 with your elbows out to the sides, maybe actively pulling the shoulder blades together. And then seeing what happens as you breathe into this shape. You've opened this big space in the chest. Let the breath fill that place. Feel your back foot is still grounded. Back foot, pinky toes are still pressing down. Good. And then from here, you'll turn your back heel off the ground so that you're now in a lunge with your back heel lifted. And you can bring your hands onto your pelvis. And reach your arms forward and up through the front. Exhale, bring your hands down through center. And inhale here. Then we'll exhale and take a twist. So you'll just exhale and turn towards your right. And some of you might open the arms wide as you're twisted. Some of you might come and bring palms together and come into a kind of a folded twist here. In any case, you're just breathing a couple of breaths here, twisted. Feet stay the same, pelvis stays just as supported, legs stay just as supportive, chest is open. So that top shoulder, Megan, is woo. I was gonna say rolling back, but then all of you rolled back. Good, good. And then inhale to untwist. Good. And then step your feet back together. Just coming back to standing. Nice. So we're just doing a short sequence today. This is quite a nice one for, someone said they've been traveling, and the rest of us are just kind of has this, I was thinking like a transition. This is a nice thing to get home, kind of refocusing. So just notice the body as it is now, just after this one side. And then you'll change sides. You'll step the right foot back so that the left leg is forward. Again, setting up for Virabhadrasana 1. So you're facing the front, the same direction as the front knee. So Megan, turn your chest towards the short end of your mat. Yeah. So you might need to widen your feet width-wise, walking your left foot out to the left. Yeah. And then you can bring your hands onto your chest. Yes. Good. And then you'll have the same kind of inhaling to open, bending into the left knee. Exhaling to come back on top of your own 2 feet, bringing the energy in towards your chest. So you're feeling that each inhalation, there's this expansion, quite dramatic expansion in the chest. Shoulder blades come together. Exhale and gathering stability back in. It's also a nice sequence for when you just wake up. I feel that now we're kind of waking up into the next part of the day. And I'd like for you to notice as you're coming through this expansion and coming back, this dynamic for Virabhadrasana 1, your eyes are open. Just see what you're seeing out in front of you. See that wall in front of you, or some kind of the texture of the room that you're in. See that space in front of you. Good. And then you'll come back to center. You'll lift your back heel off the ground. So now you're in a lunge with your back heel lifted, a little bit of a bend in the back knee. But bring your hands onto your pelvis and notice where your pelvis is in space. And then I like to think of just like a relaxation through the pelvis. So the lower back is broad. You're upright and the lower back is broad. Then inhale, reach forward and up, like you're going for like a high 10 to somebody, very enthusiastically. Reaching up towards the ceiling with your fingertips. And then exhale, bring your hands down through center. Inhale here, feeling the openness in the chest. And exhale to twist. As you exhale, the belly moves towards the spine and you are twisted. And then, you can express through the arms however you want. Reaching out to the sides. Coaxing that left shoulder to relax down. If you bring the palms together, again, you're encouraging the left shoulder to come on top of the right shoulder, almost like you're leaning back. Now again, notice your eyes are open. Notice like what is in your view? What are you looking at? Inhale to unwind, untwist. And then just step your feet back together. Good. Maybe bringing your hand back to your chest and another hand to your belly, letting your elbows fall by your sides. Shoulder blades are heavy. Good. Then with your feet slightly apart, we'll inhale and reach the arms out to the sides. And exhale, fold over the legs, bending the knees as much as you want to. And maybe grabbing opposite elbows to kind of drag the upper torso down a little bit, give it a little extra weight, let the head and neck relax. So you feel as though you're hanging from the tailbone. So shift a little bit more weight into your toes. Some of you, yeah. It's kind of like a precarious like feeling. You feel like you're gonna topple over, but you won't. Feel how your four corners of your feet are still really sturdy and clear on the ground. Knees can bend as much as you want to. The more that you bend your knees, the more you might be able to release in the lower back. Mm-hmm. Good. Then to come out, you'll inhale and come halfway up, reach the crown of your head away from your tailbone, and tailbone away from the crown of your head. Bring your hands maybe to the sides of your legs, or even out to the side like an airplane if you want. Shoulders down your back. Yeah. And exhale, fold the rest of the way down. Good. Once again, coming halfway up, extending the crown of the head away from the tailbone. Yeah. Good, good. And exhale to fold down, bending the knees. Really nice. Good. Now inhale, come all the way up on the next inhalation, coming all the way up, maybe reaching your arms out to the sides as you come up. And exhale, float the arms down. And pause for a moment with your palms facing forward. Feeling the way that the breath is moving through the whole body. Of course, it's in a literal sense just going into your lungs. It's just moving and how it always moves. But there might be this sense that there is more circulation or more energy somewhere in the body. Sometimes it's felt like there's more heaviness or more lightness, interestingly. Good. Good. And then come down to lie down on your back. And we'll take one more sequence. So you'll lie down with your feet flat on the floor and your knees bent, just resting your back and your head back on the ground. And maybe bring your hands again to your chest and your lower belly. And have your eyes be open. Once again, eyes are open, just to see what that feels like. It might be your tendency to have the eyes open. It might be your tendency to close the eyes. Usually closing the eyes is very nice for turning the attention inward. But it can be nice also to practice with the eyes open. There's different thought about each of those. I don't know if any of you have this experience. Sometimes when the eyes are closed, there's almost, you can almost get lost. I thought that was, I didn't know that was like a real thing. I was in a class once, and the teacher was like, everyone close your eyes. And she was like, Emily, open your eyes. I was like, what? How'd you know? And she was like, you just go right into, like, there's something about going a little too indrawn and then you just like peace out. So that can happen to some of us. It's actually less, we become more dispersed, I guess. Same with the eyes open. Sometimes the eyes are open and we become too drawn into the external things. So I'm interested in finding this. Eyes are open, yet the focus is soft, the attention is indrawn. Good. Then we'll inhale, reach the arms, bring the hands first by the sides. You'll inhale, reach the arms up overhead, so that the backs of the hands come to the floor behind you. And then you'll exhale and bring the hands down. Bring the knees in at the same time. So you come to Apanasana, hugging the knees in towards your chest. Yeah, and just take a breath here. Then we'll inhale, reach the arms up overhead as you bring the feet to the floor, and push into your feet to lift the pelvis, all in one inhalation, coming up into this bridge pose. Then exhale, bring just the arms down. So you stay lifted in this bridge pose. Inhale, bring the arms up overhead, staying in the bridge pose. Exhale, lower the pelvis, bring the knees in towards the chest. Good. Now I'll add something. Inhale, reach the soles of the feet up towards the ceiling, reach the arms overhead. So you make like a letter L. Yeah, just stretching your feet up towards the ceiling. Exhale, hug the knees in towards the chest. Inhale, feet come to the ground, arms reach overhead, pelvis comes up. Bridge pose. Exhale, lower just the arms. Inhale, reach just the arms overhead. Exhale, lower the pelvis, bring the knees in towards the chest. Inhale, feet up towards the ceiling as you reach the arms up overhead. Exhale, bring the knees in towards the chest, hands to your knees. So moving with your own breath, if the sequence gets messed up, that's okay, don't worry about it. Try to keep the eyes open. Inhale, reach up and overhead, bring the feet to the ground, reach the pelvis up, opening up into bridge pose. Exhale, lower just the arms. Inhale, reach the arms up towards the floor in front of, above your head. Exhale, lower your pelvis down, hug your knees in towards your chest. Inhale, reach the soles of the feet up towards the ceiling, reach the arms overhead. And exhale, bring the knees in towards your chest. And then you can just stay here in this Apanasana, maybe rocking side to side. I'll just take a couple more moments before we close out the practice. So now you can let the eyes close and see the feeling that brings. Now in this Apanasana, now the eyes are closed. And feel this feeling. This is okay. It's almost like a modification on this. If it, you can be sensitive to this. Closing the eyes creates a different tone or a different, something else comes out of the pose. Something new is found when the eyes are open versus closed. Then you can let the knees come over to one side. The opposite shoulder can rest back and down. So if your knees go to the left, the right shoulder is resting back. The right arm might even extend. And here you can really feel into these whole, complete, slow breaths, a full inhalation and totally emptying out on the exhalation. Good. And then coming up and over to the other side. So inhaling to come back to center and then exhaling to move the knees over to the other side. It really doesn't take much to change the kind of change the attention, change the feeling of being in the body. Good. And then come back to center when you're ready. Inhale, come back to center. And hug the knees in towards the chest once again. Great. And then bring your feet to the floor so your knees are bent, feet are on the floor. And those of you who are just joining, you can join for this just breathing practice if you feel like it. You could lay down or you could do this seated. So we're bringing the spine is long. If you're resting back on the floor, you can really feel the spine is laid out on the floor, effortlessly in its full height. You could think about it that way. And then if you're sitting down into your chair or down into the floor, and you can feel the crown of your head just effortlessly floating up towards the ceiling. Yeah. Then you can bring one hand to your chest and one hand to your lower belly, letting your elbows be heavy. If you're on the ground, laying back, you can feel your elbows are actually on the ground, probably, maybe. And then we'll gently shape the breath. So breathing in and out through the nose. You'll inhale to fill the lower hand first. So you're directing your breath down first, filling up from bottom to top. So you can feel the lower hand expand, the upper hand expand. And then as you exhale, just let the lower hand release. Let the belly release towards the spine. And this can be very subtle, very gentle. So no need to kind of force anything. You're inhaling from bottom to top. Belly expands. Chest expands. Shoulders are easy. Then you're exhaling, letting the belly release towards the spine. And you're moving at your own pace. So the breath will kind of direct you like, okay, I'm full, time to let the breath out. I'm empty, time to let another breath in. But some of you might feel the sense that you are growing up through the chest, or that the space in the chest is being subtly inflated with each breath. Let the armpits be easy, let the neck and shoulders be easy. Just feeling into the fullness in the chest. Without strain, without pushing, without reaching for something. And this can feel energizing and sometimes kind of vulnerable. It's a lot of this fullness in the chest is energizing, but also kind of vulnerable. So you're just noticing what it is for you, what this brings. This fullness in the chest. There's a wonderful Hatha Yoga teacher that would say, draw a student's attention to the space between the pelvis and the lower ribs, which here is being expanded, right? With each breath, there's kind of this like, almost like you're spreading that space out. The chest lifts, the belly, descends on the exhale. There's this expanding. And she would say, this place is closed for most of us, this place in the middle of the abdomen. It's closed or constricted for most of us because of, I'm trying to remember the order, compressions, depressions, and suppressions. You think about our physical kind of posture a lot of the time, being seated or whatever. There's a compression there. Driving a lot, sitting a lot. There's a physical compression. There's also, on the level of the mind and the emotions, there's this depression, this kind of indrawn, not in a peaceful, meditated way, like this kind of indrawn, like, ooh, that kind of feeling that is lingers for some of us for some time and creates this pattern of closing in. Then there's suppressions, which I thought was the most beautiful part. The diaphragm is here in the middle, right? And our emotional expression happens here. And so when there's this holding or this suppression, it can create this kind of pattern of holding. So I just think it's beautiful the way that just by breathing along the spine, just by bringing your attention to the center of you, feeling that energy, allowing it to start to flow a little more freely, we're releasing out of these compressions, depressions, suppressions. And as I said, this freedom can feel energizing. It can also feel a little unstable or a little activating. Yeah. You can keep lying on the ground, or you could come into a seat. And you might continue this feeling of breathing up and down the spine, of feeling the sense of the breath and the prana, the energy is circulating through the whole system, up and down the spine, melting away any holding. And it's like when you are digesting food or something, it's like it gets digested, it gets kind of broken down, melted away, and energy comes from it. So I like think of like untying these knots. This something gets untied really gently, and there's this kind of spring back of energy. Sometimes it's a laugh, sometimes it's a cry, sometimes it's just that sense of alertness, aliveness. Great. And we'll close now. We'll chant just as we did at the beginning of the class. And I hope that those of you who are just coming in will join us. We'll chant Om thrice with varying levels of closeness. The first will be big and open, as if to fill the entire room. The second one will be a little closer to you, as if you were talking to someone a few feet in front of you. And the third will be smaller, probably quieter, maybe even silent, more internal. But I just like for you to notice the intensity of the energy in each of these. You might think this big energy is going to be the big loud one will have the most energy. Feel how intense actually as it gets closer and closer, the energy might feel more focused even. So you might bring your palms together, Anjali Mudra, and we'll chant. So inhale. A little closer. And internally, almost silently. Thank you to this practice and all of our teachers. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Tat Sat. Shri Ram Krishna Arpanamastu. Thanks, guys. Thanks for being here. It's so good to see you all.